Yes, welcome. I'm Shannon Blackmer. I'm the Adventure Sales and Marketing Manager for Wilderness Inquiry, and I'm really excited for this lovely evening to talk about New Zealand. Wilderness Inquiry's upcoming dates for New Zealand this year are December 7th through the 16th, and then next year, November 23rd through December 2nd, 2026. So you can book your spot at wildernessinquiry.org. You can let me know if you have any questions about that. I will drop both the New Zealand registration website link in the chat as well as my email if you have any questions for registration or if anything doesn't get addressed today. So first up is a presentation from Dan Murphy. He's the co-owner and South Island Operations Manager at Hiking New Zealand. So Dan will walk us through the itinerary for the adventures. And then we'll hear from Evan Jones. He's the Program and Staffing Manager at Wilderness Inquiry, and he's had experience leading these trips. So we'll hear a little bit from him. And then we will have a Q&A. So feel free to write your questions in the chat, and we'll get to those at the end. I can read those out loud. So over to you, Dan.
Thank you, Shannon. It's a real pleasure to be able to talk to you this evening for you, and it's lunchtime on a Thursday for me here in the South Island. Thank you for giving up the time. And I just hope that today I can just give you some insights into um, firstly, what our wilderness inquiry tour involves, but just what it's like in general when you're traveling around the South Island and just how much it has to offer visitors coming to New Zealand. Um, so a little bit about us. So Hiking New Zealand is a proudly family-owned business. I'm just got a sorry, I'm just trying to scroll through and it won't let me. Hang on. No, here we go. So we're a family-owned business, and it's so together with my wife Anne, who you can sort of see in the front of that photo, and our business partner Malcolm, who's based in Auckland in the North Island, and the company's been going for about 30 years. Um, so we're 100% New Zealand owned and operated. So I thought it'd be good just to give you a bit of background on the company, some of our values around sustainability and what we get up to in the conservation space, and then we can jump into the trip, um, where we go, some of the highlights, and also just what to expect day to day, what the accommodation's like, some of the activities, how much walking, how much hiking, and then at the end, hopefully there'll be some questions and we'll have everyone fired up to come to New Zealand. Um, so so basically, we're 100% committed to offering experiences which are authentic and genuine and really getting people beyond the usual tourist trail. And such a massive part of that is our guides. Our guides are either born and bred New Zealanders or people that have lived here a long time. So they all have a very deep connection to New Zealand, Aotearoa, the land, and the stories that they're very passionate about sharing with you. Conservation is something that's always been at the core of our business, and one of our founding values was that conservation should directly benefit through tourism. So over the years since we started, we've had various wildlife funds where we've contributed financially to wildlife funds. Like one big one for us was a marine mammal fund that was supporting the Hector's dolphin, which is the smallest marine dolphin in the world, which we sometimes see when we're going down the west coast. But with what happened in 2020, COVID, closed borders, we actually, we no longer had any business. With the borders closed, we actually set up a conservation business, and through some government funding, we were able to employ our guides to carry out conservation work. And a lot of that work was doing predator control in Arthur's Pass National Park, where we employed 10 people for a period of 3 years, which was a tremendously successful project. Got rid of a lot of invasive introduced predators that prey on our native wildlife, which is mainly birds and very vulnerable to those predators. And we also got into a lot of tree planting, um, and which has continued to this day. So that's a big part of what we do, and we like to sort of share that with our customers, what we're up to, and sort of like to think that there's some shared values there. So New Zealand is famous for having such a varied range of landscapes, but the beauty of that is it's a small, compact country, so it makes it ideal for this sort of travel. In the space of a day, you can be on the beach in the morning, and then you can be in the mountains in the Southern Alps, and like on this trip, at the end of the day, you end up on the wild west coast of the South Island, which is completely different to the east. You've got these wild driftwood strewn beaches and rainforests. So that it's a tremendously easy country to travel around, and just so much variety. Um, so we've crafted an itinerary where the typical amount of physical activity, be it hiking or cycling or kayaking each day, would be between sort of 2 to 5 hours. And we always, we're not the army. We build in flexibility, and we recognise that everyone's different. So we always have options, where if people want to extend themselves a bit, there's generally something else we can offer. And likewise, if people are wanting to take it easy, we can offer more gentler options as well. This is our group in Arthur's Pass at the Punchbowl Falls on our last trip with Wilderness Inquiry, and just taking a short hike on our way to the west coast. So yeah, I suppose in a nutshell, the highlights I think of this tour is just the incredible variety of hikes and landscapes that you'll visit. You'll actually cross the Southern Alps twice, at Arthur's Pass and at Haas Pass. So you'll experience that alpine landscape. Spending quite a bit of time on the west coast, which is quite special. We journey down through South Westland, which a lot of our sort of tourist routes sort of are on the other side of the mountains. So it really is quite an experience to travel through South Westland. You'll see that primeval rainforest, the opportunity to visit Milford Sound and Fiordland National Park, and some time in our alpine resort towns of Queenstown and Wanaka, which are beautiful places and lots of fun. And then the climax of the trip is going to Aoraki Mount Cook, our last 2 night stay of the trip, which is the highest mountain in New Zealand, and just a very beautiful place to visit and hike in. So I thought I'd talk a little bit about the accommodation. The accommodation, like the landscapes and the hikes, is also very varied, because we're always just trying to choose the most appropriate accommodation that's in the right place where we can offer these amazing hikes and activities. But one unique feature about this trip is 10-day trip, but we have 4 2 night stays. So it's really nice for just slowing the trip down a little bit. Means you're not doing that packing your suitcase every morning. You'll get a deeper connection with the places that we are, and it just gives us more options to really explore those places. So we stay in Punakaiki on the west coast in these holiday houses, which you can see here. Then we're in cabins, nice comfortable cabins in Fox Glacier. Then we're in quite a plush hotel in Queenstown. And then we stay in a lodge type place in Wanaka for 1 night. And then we're in a nice hotel in Aoraki Mount Cook towards the end of the trip. So yeah, just a little slide there which shows you the variety of some of the places that we stay. So I just wanted to do a little deeper dive into some of the regions that we're visiting, and the first one is the Paparoa National Park. So this area we explore from on nights 1 and nights 2. We're based here, and it's the what's this area is famous for is these beautiful lush rainforest, and in those pictures you can see the Nikau palms, the towering limestone cliffs. There's these the whole region is cut through with these big canyons. And on the coast, there's the pancake rocks, which are these big sea stacks, which are very famous. So there's time to visit those as well. So it's very lush and green and beautiful for hiking. It's not too hot, it's not cold, and our hike takes us up the Purarari Canyon, and then we're gentle climb over into the Punakaiki, and then that afternoon, there's time to explore the coastline, these old sea caves, which were used by early Maori that would come over from the east coast. They'd be looking for what we call kai moana, which is seafood, and they'd stay in these caves. So it's got a fascinating indigenous history in that area. And so after our time in Punakaiki, just down the road is one of our popular multi-day cycle trails, the West Coast Wilderness Trail. So we're journeying down the west coast of the South Island at this point, and we stop at Hokitika, and we get everyone fitted out with e-bikes, and they're so most of them are sort of a hybrid type mountain bike, and we offer a couple of options for getting out for a morning ride on the trail, depending on how keen people are. But yeah, I don't know what you guys have done, but the e-bikes are just a fantastic way to sort of make activities like this more accessible for everyone. You don't have to worry so much about your fitness. You can just enjoy the scenery. Most of it's on purpose-built cycle trails, and you're getting right into the rainforest. Lots of history, some old gold mining from back 150 years ago, some water races, so plenty to see before we jump in the bus and head further down into Southwestland and stay for 2 nights in the town of Fox Glacier, which is just down the valley from the glacier itself. And so just I'll touch on the glaciers in a minute, but one of our favourite things to do on the West Coast, and in particular this part of the West Coast, is to head out to Okarito, which is this tiny village. Um, Back in the 1880s, there was a short gold rush there, and people stayed on living there. I think there's a permanent population of about 25 people, but it's got this huge, it's New Zealand's largest unmodified wetland. And so we hire kayaks, it's a guided trip by local guides there, head across the delta and up into the rainforest. So the delta is amazing for all these migratory birds, and then you're actually able to push right into the forest where these towering kahikatea trees, which are some of them are 500-600 years old, sort of 50 meters high. So it's really stunning place and characterized by that tannin-rich water that you'll notice there in that shot. Looks like a cup of tea. That's just all the tannins that leach out from the forest floor. So yeah, we have a couple of nights there, and we'll also visit most probably Franz Josef Glacier. We drive up the valley, and yeah, 20 years ago you could drive up the valley to the car park, and yeah, you were looking at the glacier right there. Now it's receded its way up around the corner, so it's not so easy to see from the car park. Which is sadly the same story all around the world. These glaciers are very dynamic. They're coming to such low altitudes, but they probably respond a lot. Well, they do respond a lot quicker to climatic changes than glaciers at higher altitudes. In recent years they've been advancing, um, just reacting to recent snowfall patterns, but they're very much in a receding pattern. And it's an interesting place to see sort of firsthand, I guess what glacial recession looks like. But stunning area, lots of good hikes to do, beautiful rainforest, and as I said, the journey from here we continue down and cross the Southern Alps again, and then we get to Queenstown, and we have 2 nights based in Queenstown, where that's an opportunity to do a whole array of activities or just relax. It's in the shot there, you can see the remarkable mountains in the background. Really nice place just to wander around or take part in some of the activities. And one that we enable is visiting Milford Sound, which is the best way to do that. And the time available on this trip is a scenic flight where you fly across the mountains, land in Milford Sound, and then you get on a boat and cruise the fjord right out to the entrance where you're on at the Tasman Sea. Um, and those trips are basically a half-day trip, whereas if you drive to Milford from Queenstown, it's quite a convoluted route to get around the mountains, and it takes all day, sort of 12 hours. So this is a great option if you're keen on seeing Milford. Purposely put photos from both types of weather there. It's when it's raining, yeah, it's such a vertical landscape. It's equally amazing because you just get these waterfalls everywhere, and you just get a sense of what a wild place it is. It is, after all, one of the wettest places on Earth, so yeah, expect a bit of rain, but you also, can get these beautiful blue sky days as well, which is also obviously very nice. So yeah, after those 2 nights in Queenstown, we just pop north over the Crown Range, and we're going to make our way back towards Christchurch up the east side of the divide. But we stay a night in Wanaka, which is just like a slightly more low-key version of Queenstown. Beautiful place. The town's set on the lake. This amazing post-glacial landscape. It's all these old ruches martinaise and the 2 giant lakes formed by glaciers, and you got the Southern Alps in the background. And with this photo is taken from a hike we do up to the summit of Rocky Mountain. And then, yeah, we might recognise some wilderness inquiry people from this shot. We've driven about 4 hours up the road, and we stay our last 2 nights at Aoraki Mount Cook. So this is really the only place in New Zealand where you can drive by road right into the heart of the Southern Alps. And when you're at Mount Cook Village, you're looking right up at the summit of Aoraki, which we can see in that photo. And of course, it's such an extreme alpine environment that a lot of what you're looking at is inaccessible. But in the valley floor, there's about 3 really good hikes. One's the Hooker Valley, which goes up to the terminal glacial lake of the Hooker Glacier. You'll often see icebergs and things, and you're looking right up at the summit of Aoraki. Or for those wanting a bit more of a challenge, we hike up to Sealy Tarns, which is over the other side. There's 1,800 steps, which takes you up to a terrace where you're looking across at Mount Sefton, Aoraki, the Mount Cook Range. Very cool place. You can hear avalanches in the distance, and it's just a really visually powerful place to be. And a little bit of history there too. I just sort of tell you about the Hooker Hut, which spent, well, about 5 years ago, they relocated this hut from up the Hooker Valley, where it used to be a mountaineer's hut, which would provide shelter for people climbing the peaks in that area or heading over the Copeland Pass. But over time, with glacial recession, it basically became impossible to get to as the glacier shrunk down and moved up the valley. It was essentially cut off by these really high, incredibly unstable moraine walls. And it just, was, I think the hut book over a period of 20 years had like 2 visitors or something like that. So it was either going to fall down, or they had to relocate it. So they flew it down into the Hooker Valley, and restored it. Lovely paint job. And now you can sort of, if you know where it is, you can sneak off the main track and go and have a look. It's also bookable for overnight stays, but it gives you a little insight into the history of the area and what a classic Mount Cook alpine hut looks like. And that's crossing a swing ridge, heading up the Hooker Valley, and we've got Mount Sefton in the background. Um, but yeah, it's just this photo probably just gives you a good sense of the landscape up here. A few days earlier, you've been in these lush rainforests on the west coast, and just as the crow flies, you're just literally east, um, 50 or 60 kilometers at this point, but it's a long drive around. So it's a pretty cool place to finish up our tour before we head back up through the Mackenzie country, and the tour finishes back in Christchurch, which is the South Island's biggest city, and a very vibrant and fun place to be. Which if you were coming out, I'd encourage you to have a bit of time up your sleeve to enjoy it. It's sort of taken on a new lease of life after a terrible earthquake back in 2011. But it took a while to get things rebuilt, but now it's a really cool place to be. Um, so that's sort of that's a real quick fly through of the trip. It's a fantastic array of hikes and landscapes and activities over that time. And as I've sort of alluded to, there's lots of options, and we try to keep it. We want this to be achievable and accessible to people of a wide range of abilities and fitness levels. And we really hope you can join us. Um, if not this year, which is fast approaching, obviously, or next year. And yeah, bring some friends along with you. Thank you. Yeah. Any
Awesome.
question?
Great. Well, Shannon, can I hop in and introduce myself and kind of go forward with a little bit of kind of what Wilderness Inquiry's perspective is in terms of the relationship, not just with the South Island of New Zealand, but also importantly with Hike New Zealand. And so my name is Evan, and I'm the staffing and training manager at Wilderness Inquiry. And I've worked for Wilderness Inquiry for about 5 years, both as an outdoor leader and guide, but also in my current role. And I think one of the reasons that I was invited to come tonight, for selfish reasons, was to look at some of these pictures, which was a great memory because I got to go on this trip a couple of years ago, and I went on the trip to support a participant. That had some disabilities and needed some direct assistance moving around. And I think putting it in a context of why I got to be there is less important than having my perception of the experience that I had there. And New Zealand has been, I'm old enough to tell you that it's been a bucket list of mine for a really long time. And I've worked in the outdoor recreation and outdoor guiding industry for about 35 years. And so I've had this idea of New Zealand in my mind of what it was. And I can honestly tell you that when I got there, it was better than as what I had even anticipated it having been. And a lot of that was the scenery and all of that. It also had a lot to do with the people who were there. And the partnership with Hike New Zealand really made the trip. And I think putting a little bit of the Wilderness Inquiry spin on that itinerary was important. And so some highlights that I had first and foremost, or maybe firstly, was the support that we received as a group from Hike New Zealand, and the guide that they had with us for the entire trip was just unbelievable. And the idea that there was variety in what we could be doing to match what the group's needs were was certainly true, even more so what the individuals did. And so there was options of things to do, where people had some different experiences and then could share that. We also, importantly to me, stayed together as a group. So that didn't mean that every experience we were stride for stride with each other, but at the end of the day, or in the beginning of the day, or certain touch points of the day, we were together as a group. And we did a lot of eating, which is a great thing for me to point out, because that was really fun. We as a group cooked some meals together in these beautiful accommodations. Our guide had food for us, did some shopping together, and then took some time to prepare these meals together, which became really meaningful for the group. Um, but I think to also think about all of the variety of different activities that we did. Um, Dan was talking about the idea that you could be in a rainforest in the morning, literally hiking after breakfast in the one of the most lush rainforests I'd ever been in. And then like a 2 or 3 hour drive, and we would be in a totally different ecosystem. And then having a walk or having a hike in an area like that, and then maybe drive another hour, hour and a half, and literally be on the coast looking at Pancake Rocks, which is a visually stunning thing to be at. And so in that 6 or 8 hour day, there was a few hours of travel in a really comfortable van. So a big van, we all fit in comfortably that had a trailer with our equipment in it. And so never did I or our participants feel like we were crowded together. Um, but with just, maybe 4 hours of driving in a day and being able to do three different hikes in three totally different ecosystems was a real highlight. Um, Learned a lot about the geology of the area because of having that local knowledge guide there, which is an invaluable resource to have. As an employee of Wilderness Inquiry, it would be a little disingenuous for me to go to a place like the South Island of New Zealand as the expert of what was there. And so having a expert that was there teaching us about the geology, spent a lot of time talking about the history of the area, spending a lot of time talking about the Maori people and what they did, how they survived, words that were used, names for things, all of that in kind of current life because they're living live culture within New Zealand was also really important. Um, and then kind of lastly, thinking about some time in those towns. And so we look at the pictures, we look at all of those things, but spending time in Christchurch was a really great time for us as a group too. We got to spend most of a day there before the trip started. And then Queenstown is legitimately one of the most beautiful cities that I've ever been in, and having a chance to kind of walk around there and swing in and get a bite to eat in a fun little restaurant, pubby kind of place, and then wander around and look at beautiful shops and all of that was fun to do for a half a day. So um, I think that's the takeaway for me was the beautiful kind of visual, but also the weather was great when we were there, and so there was so many great atmospheric things that were happening. Getting to hike in some high alpine areas, getting to hike in rainforest areas, getting to hike on coast, getting to spend time outside in all of those places in a condensed period of time was really valuable. And all of that was done with an amazing amount of support from Hike New Zealand. And so I think of my trip frequently and hope that we can answer questions that you all might have about it. And thanks for being here and listening to my rambling.
Wonderful. Well, again, thank you so much, Dan. Thank you so much, Evan. Thank you to all of you for joining us. And please take a look at the chat for the information. Like I said, our upcoming trips to New Zealand are December 7th through the 16th of this year, 2025, and then next year, November 23rd through December 2nd for 2026.